Hey, everybody, it is the Bleeding Burgundy podcast.
Let's get this show going, man.
Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy podcast, a Washington Commanders podcast for fans by fans, with your hosts, Jessy Martin.
The Cowboys are finished, you understand me?
John Taman.
Pull down my trousers and do your job.
Scott Hartley.
That was dreadful.
And occasionally, Keith Gray.
So many social engagements, so little time.
And now, your host.
Hey, that's me. I'm your host, the lovely and wonderful John Taman. And welcome to Friday night here at the Bleeding Burgundy podcast, man. We are a week into camp. We are a man down. As you can see, Scotty is not going to be here tonight. First, we're going to say hello to my friend Jessy over here. There he is. Jessy, how you doing? You know, I got a picture to share, but I don't have it quite ready just yet, which means we're par for the course. We started a few seconds late, and we're not prepared. To keep us in line, our good friend Ken Johannsen down there. Good to see you, Ken, man. It's been a long time.
Good to see you, gentlemen. The
Burgundy Burner himself. All right, so I'll tell you what. Let's just start off with some friendly talk because Scott's not here, and we really don't want to make Scott feel bad for missing a great show. So we don't want to start off with too many firecrackers right off the bat. But apparently it was his birthday the other day, and I guess he had one too many Shirley Temples, and he's got a sore tummy. Either that or he's been, you know.
Or it could be COVID too.
It could be. It could be.
And that's what he said. That's what he said it was, but I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
I don't believe him either, although I just had COVID. And last weekend, if anybody watched the show, which nobody watched the show, you missed me having...
Thanks, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. You saw me have COVID, which really was nothing more to me than the most mild of colds. It was barely even a bother. I got more of a bother because I slept a lot, and I got a freaking kink in my back sleeping. Ken, you're old. You know how that feels, right?
I'm just old, period. I know how every bad thing feels.
No, I don't know. Okay, well, you could probably come up with a few bad things and test you on that. Like, yeah, I'm sure in the medieval ages there were a few things they thought of.
I had the Omicron variant of COVID back in early 2021 when that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it knocked me over for about 3 weeks. The one thing I didn't do, though, was sleep every day. But I did find myself in my living room chair, hardly able to move most of the time.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
Yeah. I mean, really, it didn't even curtail my masturbating. So I don't think it was a serious illness at all.
I'd like to welcome everybody in the chat. Deluxe and Brian, thanks for being with us. And whoever's watching on X, if y'all want to move over to YouTube, give us a like, follow, subscribe, ring that bell.
Yeah.
And you can talk some shit with us in the chat. And Harley's in the chat. See, if Harley can be in the chat, don't you think he could be in the show?
I'd rather he not get any of us sick.
That's true.
So he can just stay there in the chat. I'll tell you what. All right, I'm trying to find this picture that Scouse sent me. I just can't find it off the top of my head here. Yeah, I know, but it's a great picture. And Scouse, I'm sorry, but we'll have to just wait. But we do have a sponsor for the show until I can find it. Anyway, let's just jump right into some Commanders talk because we do have a full week of camp now under our belts. All right, Ken, we have not seen you since the draft. Right, you're our draft guru or our go-to guy when it comes to that kind of stuff. We got all your thoughts going into the draft. So let's start off with you. Tell us what you think about. Just give me an overall assessment of how you feel the offseason went leading into camp. And now the camp has begun and we start to see what we're starting to see. What do you think?
It's an off season like we haven't seen in 25 years. Now, granted, when Dan Snyder did give Joe Gibbs full control of the team during his second stint, we had a couple of good drafts, no doubt about it, but we lacked a good general manager. And Benny Serrato was still there. But
I'll just say, Vinny wasn't good. Come on,
he was only in the background. Really didn't have any kind of influence. He had a vice president title and name only during that time. So those drafts were pretty good. Obviously brought us Sean Taylor and many fine players. The free agencies were pretty good, but I'm still going to go on record and say. This was the best offseason in at least 25 years, and I would put it closer to about 35, 30, maybe even 38 years.
Yeah.
And the reason being After Bobby Beathard was gone in the late 80s, Charlie Casserly was the GM. And basically, he was just riding on the coattails of Bobby Beathard. So they were able to maintain a pretty good level of winning, good culture. But after Joe Gibbs was gone and Charlie's left to run it all, well, we saw what happened throughout the 1990s. It deteriorated. A team that in 1996 started 7-1, finished 8-8, or actually 8-7-1. It didn't make the playoffs.
I remember.
And that came to me to epitomize what was to come up to 2023. And finally, we've had what I consider maybe the best offseason since 1980, when that draft was incredible. And brought them, you didn't have free agency back then, so to speak. You still had a couple of good players brought in. And to me, this is that, if I'm really being honest, the best offseason in 44 years.
I tell you what, we've started at, what did we start at? We started at 23, then we went to 34, and now we're at 44 years. That's a pretty damn good offseason right there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Now, do you think it's such a good offseason in regards to, for one, we've got a good culture in place. So, at the moment, it would seem. Was it the acquisition of the players that we got, or was it the ability to generate a genuine hope?
I don't think this is built on hope.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a foundation that we've laid. Now, people, if we have a season where they're 8-9 or 9-8 upcoming, people are going to say, "Oh, they should have made the playoffs with a 14-3 record, make it to the Super Bowl." This is year one,
right,
of what really is an essential rebuild. And look what they've been able to do. One of their best drafts ever, a great offseason as far as free agency. Excuse me. And then from there, one of the best front offices I've ever seen. And it didn't stop with Adam Peters. They brought in Newmark. They brought in a host of men who would be, really solid vice presidents, great scouts. And, the hires have continued all the way to the present. So I really think that that's really one of the most important parts of this rebuild. So let's see what they do in free agency next offseason and the draft. And if it matches, or at least is similar to this year, then this team will be well on its way to consistent winning seasons, consistently in the playoffs, and challenging for Super Bowls.
God damn right. That's the words I like to hear. Jesse, what do you think of that?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm in 100% agree with Ken. This offseason, from top to bottom, I know there was a little bit of angst with the hire of Dan Quinn. But like I said,
But was there really? I don't know. I mean, I guess there was.
Everybody
Everybody
wanted Ben Johnson. Everybody wanted Ben Johnson.
Right.
And
so there was a little whining.
There was the portion of the fan base that felt that Dan Quinn was a retread. But I think he was the right hire for Adam
Apparently
Peters to marry. And everything that this organization has done. Have you guys both watched the new Commanders log that dropped last night? It's a short one. It was only 15 minutes long. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend it. But everything from the actual headquarters, I mean, they really gave you a look inside to see everything that they're doing. 30 years, about 30 years, Daniel Snyder owned this team, and he was doing nothing but pinching pennies left and right and left.
After a while, for a while there, he was throwing money around.
Well, he was throwing the money at players. He wasn't throwing money at the facilities.
No, at facilities, right?
So this is a brand spanking new day, and that Josh Harris ownership group is forking over so much money to build to start a championship run organization. Now,
Well, that's the foundation, like Ken said.
it is the foundation, because your players come in and they come to work in a shithole. I mean, who's going to want to stay around the building, you know? And they talked about that last night. They want these players to build relationships with each other and not just go to practice and go home. You know,
They have been. I've read reports this week about them staying late after practice, hanging around in the clubhouse, enjoying each other. That's what's good.
They put PlayStations in there. They put Xbox in there. They're
ping pong tables. You're telling me ping pong tables were actually good for us?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a brand new day. They ripped up the old AstroTurf, and in a couple of weeks they're going to have a brand new football field on there.
Good, because the AstroTurf play hadn't been used in 25 years.
It hasn't. That thing
just sitting there.
John Keim has said they haven't used that thing. I think since 2003, something like that.
I thought it was 1953. But
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I tell you what, let me give John Keim a shout out, and not only to John Keim, but I also want to give a shout out to whoever it is that keeps backing up a truck in his podcast this week.
Oh yeah!
Holy shit! Where are you doing your pod, dude? Out in the freaking parking lot.
It's all the construction. See, all that's construction work
know.
that's going on there. I mean, it's constantly nonstop, and they explain that in the commander's log. I mean, they're nonstop working on this facility and making it a championship type.
You got to. That's what culture change is all about nowadays. Yeah. You give employees a good place to work, and you manage to attract good employees. Imagine that. I've said all along, I think that my thing about this entire offseason that gives me the hope is the coaching hires. And you touched on it, Ken, about talking about the front office, how it's still going on. But I love how we hired coordinator after coordinator to follow coordinator, so that when we do have success and they get poached, we've got somebody waiting to come up. We got the next generation ready to go. So I really love how they've built the entire thing. And I guess just the fact that we have linebackers is probably what helped me through my my opportunities to masturbate during COVID. But man, they really make me happy having those things. Hey, I've been waiting for linebackers for so long. All right, so we've got camp started. Ken, what are you thinking about camp so far? We got a week under our belt.
Well, I'm not able to be there, obviously.
No,
it's kind of hard to give an assessment all the way from Collierville, Tennessee. But, I like the first day Dan Quinn addresses the crowd. And he says, look, don't go on what we say. Go on what you see.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're going to do is put a good product out here for you to watch during these practices. And then watch us during the preseason games, and then start judging from there. And then he said also, once we get the season going, the same thing. Judge us on that alone, and I like that. And I've always been a guy that action speaks louder than words.
Sure.
We can say so much, and it means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite moments from any head coach that I've ever seen was Nick Saban, former coach at Alabama. He said, people can, say things to make you feel good, but that may or may not last a lifetime. He said, what they're going to remember about you is how they make you feel. And that's what people are going to remember for the rest of their lives. And if this team can make us feel good, not only this year, in the coming years, we're going to remember like we remember the 1980s to the early 90s. Mm-hmm. We're never going to forget that for those of us who are around. That is something, because there were no words. They just went out there and performed. And it was amazing. And a lot of us can remember the iconic plays individually, from those seasons. Not just over one season, but many seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think Dan Quinn is trying to convey. So, from what I've seen at training camp, to answer your original question, the things that I've heard, I hear about the enthusiasm that Mike Sainristil brings to the team. I hear about the camaraderie that is being formed with Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. And I hear about, the individual plays here and there that are inspiring people to take a look and to see what this team is made of. And I really think, based on what I've heard through 8 days, is encouraging. But again, I want to see the preseason games to start formulating, whatever kind of opinion.
Right. So we're going to say hello there to our apple-cheeked, feverish friend down there, Scott Hartley. How are you, buddy? You're coming in live from Barrow and Furnace, UK.
Coming in, you're not even wearing a mask.
Look at him.
I mean,
he's
trying to get everybody sick.
He's sitting so close to Ken. Look at that.
Look at that.
No, I just
as long as he doesn't kiss me, I'm okay.
You know how he is. So how you feeling, Scott? What's the matter with you?
That's for week 2, Ken. You know that. But no, I'm okay. Just bit of man flu. I don't think it's man flu. I think it's manthrax.
Manthrax.
It's even worse. Yeah. But no, it just dead. Really, I've been a bit feverish the last week or so, but not really affected me. My wife's not been very well either. And then I've obviously got whatever bug she's got and just dead tired.
Listen, COVID's going around work right now. Yeah. I'm making people wear masks,
Same.
and trying not to put more than 2 people in a vehicle together. It's difficult because it's just having a run, but it's not like a real bad one. Like everybody that's got it just feels like a cold.
Well, so. It's now what 11:15 at night, and I think I woke up at 10:15 for the show to start at like 10:30, and I was like, not in a fit state to do this right now. But
you're here. You get an extra gold star for.
Nice. I got peer pressured into it. My wife said so.
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly what we did. We peer pressured him into doing it.
Yeah.
Watch by the end of the show, Karen. We're gonna have him smoking cigarettes.
I tell you what, Scott. I can try to bring up my old British accent. And speak for you when you can't speak, and I'll just pretend like I'm at Hyde Park giving a political speech.
There you go.
Yeah, just give a slight northern lilt, and you'll be good to go, Ken.
You're from Norfolk in England.
No, I'm a northern lilt. I used to live in Norfolk many moons ago, but I'm actually from.
I'll have you know, Ken was the Collierville, Tennessee lilting champion between 1986 and 1993.
Yeah, considering that I moved here in 2013, yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, go where they love you.
Originally from the northeast of England, Ken, but I moved over to the northwest for work.
Right.
So I'm over the northwest.
Welcome, Yam, to the chat.
You think a Liverpool accent would do it?
No, well, if you can do Scouse's accent, then fantastic.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm about 2 and a bit hours north of Liverpool.
Well, you can see I've been to England because I kind of know.
Man,
I learned that there's actually so many different accents throughout the country. So
Deluxe has had COVID 5 times.
I was bamboozled by all of them.
That's the funny thing, Ken. You could drive 20 miles down the road and the accents change 3 times, and they call a bread roll something different.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's one of them things.
The hell was that? Something flying around Ken's house.
That must
all right.
No, there's something that I don't know what it is. Okay, I'll take care of it after the pod.
Well, we were talking about training camp starting off. Scott, before you fall asleep, tell us what you think about training camp. Look, he's got his pen ready, Kenny. He's going to write his list.
I was writing a list. Yeah.
He's writing a list.
I was writing a list. You were right. No, I've enjoyed training camp. I'm excited to see Jaden Daniels. There's a few standouts for me. I mean, Mike Sanderstill, from all accounts, looks like the pick that we all hoped he would be, and I'm really hoping he doesn't have that second round curse, which we seem to have had for quite a while. I'm more interested, and the thing that's interesting me the most is about who is a bubble player now, and who is on that bubble, and who could become a bubble player. And it could be established players who we've had for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking back at this talent evaluation that we've had in the past, and thought to myself, what has Ron and the scouting team done in the last few years to make it now that almost certainly everyone who was on the 2020 roster, I think 2021, I think we're at now, is almost gone. You know, I don't think there's anyone left.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see who goes this year and where these players are. I mean, Jessy, you've got a couple of out there moments, but it looks like the two that you brought up are very much on the bubble. So it'll be.
Got to give him his due.
The amazing Jessy.
The amazing Jessy.
As a quick Shakespearean aside, I do have my roster projection in front of me, and I do have players that I predict will be surprising cuts. So if you want to do that at some point, and so right
I would
now,
definitely be interested to see if some of your surprise cuts line up with what I've been saying for the past 2 months.
I want to know why Scott's icon keeps looking like a butthole. That's what I want to know.
Here are my surprise cuts, and we can talk about any of the roster stuff. And this isn't exclusive for y'all because this is before it is actually published.
Okay.
So here are my surprising cuts. Trent Scott.
Yeah.
Phil Mathis, Vidarian Mathis.
Yep.
Cole Turner.
Yep.
He had a catch yesterday.
Christian Holmes.
Ooh.
Braden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
James Pierre. Armani Rogers. Percy Butler.
Whoa.
Mitchell Tinsley.
Tinsley's been lighting it up the last couple of days.
I understand that, but this isn't going to be a numbers game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna trade you Percy Butler for Derek Forrest, and here's why. I've been saying this for a couple months now.
You have.
It is a numbers game, just like you said, Ken. It is a big numbers game. You go back and you look at Derek Forrest's game, and Derek Forrest has had some big plays for this team, no doubt about that. And for a couple-week stretch, probably like a 3-week stretch, him and Cam Curl were rated as the number 1 and 2 safeties in the entire league. But that did not last long. Other than those a few plays, some standout plays, and I think that was in 2022-ish, because 2023 was bad for Forrest, and then he's had some injuries as well too. He hasn't played well whatsoever. And word in camp, and this is not coming just from a couple people. This is coming from everybody. Percy Butler is playing over Derek Forrest. Now, and this is another reason why I'm adding this together, is because back Percy Butler's Louisiana of Lafayette college days, I was excited about him getting picked because he was a very, very good ball player. College is not, on national TV very often, if at all, except when they play some of the big colleges. But he was really, really good. The problem with Percy Butler is the coaching staff that he got. He was handed basically 4 different playbooks and said, "Here, go learn these," without any real coaching whatsoever. He is a standout special teams player. Obviously, especially with the new kickoff rules, we're going to need it. And then add that up to him playing over Derek Forrest. Derek Forrest has been all camp, mini camp, and training camp, has been running with the 3s and 4s. I think Derek Forrest is in trouble. I really, really do. And I think Percy Butler, now that he actually has, one playbook, a free safety playbook, I think he's going to thrive in this Joe Witt defense.
Unofficial depth chart has Butler ahead of Forrest right now at the number 2. I think was it free safety that they've got him at. Yeah. Anyway,
and on top of that, Derek Forrest is now injured right now.
He's not doing himself any favors.
He'll be back on Monday.
Now the kickoff. You brought the kickoff up. Did you guys watch any of the game last night? I watched just to see the kickoff. Did you watch any of it?
That's all I did.
I didn't see really anything that was all that spectacular. It looked to me to be almost the same as any other kickoff. They start in different positions, but the result is about the same.
You also got to remember the backups upon backups were playing too.
Well, I get that, but still, it's a kickoff, right?
I think there will be, on an average week, there will be, I would give it 20 kickoff returns more than 40 yards.
Place your bets, everybody, right there. The amazing Jessy Speaks. Shoot,
Like,
20 kickoffs a week per 40 yards. Wow.
Out of all, out of 16 games a freaking week,
Yeah.
obviously. But I think there's going to be some major. I mean, listen, the Hall of Fame game, nobody that makes teams are playing in that game, barely.
It's just a kickoff. Ken, don't you agree? The kickoff is the kickoff. And whether you have superstars running the kickoff or whether you have everybody's kind of at the same level, the play is still going to occur pretty much the same way, I'm thinking.
Well,
I do want Ken eventually, after he answers this question, to respond to me trading Derek Forrest for Percy Butler. I want to know what he thinks about that. But go ahead and answer that. The special teams.
No, I'll answer the Percy Butler Derek Forrest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, for the first couple seasons that Percy Butler has been here, he always looked good in preseason. He was burning it up. And I always say there's preseason stars that we want to anoint as the greatest ever. Babe Laufenberg to Colt Brennan to
Cam Sims.
Whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay. We get to the season, we realize, they can't do jack.
I mean, come on. Darnarian McCants had everything going for him.
Yeah, right. The pride of Delaware State.
There you go.
Anyway, so I'll keep an open mind about it, but I just think Derek Forrest, we always learn about these players. Now, granted, Percy Butler has been on the roster for 2 years, but each of the seasons that he's played, to me, he's been running around like a head with his chicken cut off.
I think all of our defensive backs have.
He tends to carry it over after the whistle a little bit. That's the thing about him that concerns me.
And I got those words mixed up. A chicken with his head cut off.
I thought you had
I like
it right.
the first one better.
Yeah, I think you had it right. His chicken was cut off.
Anyway,
that's how Ron Rivera coached football.
Again, I'll keep an open mind about it. So I tell you what, Jesse, it's not going to be published until late in the weekend, early next week, so I can change it. So I'll let that be a surprise.
Just think about that. Yeah. Like I said, I got crushed on social media when I was asked for some surprise cuts, and I'm just doing kind of the math, man. That whole safety room has changed.
Yes, it has.
And it's. I think Dan Quinn said it's nobody's a lock to make this roster, especially from the old regime.
Okay, let me pull up.
I'll say I got a name, and then in that safety room, at the bottom of it.
Before I answer the kickoff question, let me answer who I think.
And then Owens, this kid Tyler Owens is freaking man. He's all over the place.
Here's my safety room prediction for the season. Before I answer the quick kickoff question, Quan Martin will be the starting free safety.
Yep, agree.
Jeremy Chin will be the in the box safety. Derek Forrest will be the backup strong safety in the box. He's better at that position. Dominique Hampton, a lot of really good skills. He'll be a backup. And my fifth player, because I have 5 safeties, is Tyler Owens, you just brought up. So there you go.
So are you cutting Revo then?
No, he's special teams. We know that. So how much did he see at free safety?
Last year, he didn't play too much because he was hurt. He was hurt last year. But prior to that, when him and Curl really broke out, he was the other guy next to him.
Yeah.
Because they both were forced into action.
See that's the whole numbers game, man. Like who you taking away to keep that extra safety? Because you got to have Revo on this team.
As much as I like Owens,
you haven't seen my offense and defense. So okay.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I can't wait till it's published because I definitely want to see it. We're actually shout out to the First String podcast Toothpick on August 17th. We'll be joining his show and doing a 53-man projection. So that's going to be interesting. Hopefully everybody will come over there. That is August 17th. I think it's going to be at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I just want to give a shout out to Toothpick and Lady Antoinette. She'll be joining us as well on the First String podcast.
Now, okay, so to answer the kickoff question, But real quick, like I'm putting up this roster prediction well before the first preseason game. This is a real challenge, and having limited knowledge of what's going on in training camp, I'm kind of going on a crazy quirk of fate here, and we'll see how it pans out toward, late in the preseason before, we get to the first game. With that in mind, kickoff rules, I think we need to see some preseason games to start to get an idea of all this. And we'll see on our team who starts to stand out amongst the youngest players, especially, those undrafted free agents who would be, good special teams players. So I'm not going to read into one preseason game right now. That particular preseason game, between the Bears and Texans, that's the Hall of Fame game. Yeah. And, you usually can't judge too much on that game.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's because they're not going at, full strength. They're not even, they haven't even opened up the playbook at all.
A kickoff's a kickoff.
So a kickoff is a kickoff, I agree. But let me tell you, John, I think we need to see a little bit more before we all judge. And I'm going to make a prediction. Kickers are going to start to learn how to kick a ball with a lot of height.
Oh, yeah.
Because that'll put it way in the air, at least about 35 to 40, 45 yards downfield. And it's going to allow special teamers to more or less on the kickoff team to run close enough to get right on top of that ball. Mm-hmm. And whoever, will call for a fair catch in that situation.
Well, you can't do that, actually.
But when it's that high, there is a chance that the person receiving is going to fumble that thing. So that's why I think we start to see, instead of doing that bounce on onside kicks, that's not going away because we know that in fourth quarter later on, you can have onside kicks. But I think you're going to see kickers learn how to lob it way, way high in the air just for that reason alone.
The rule states that nobody can move because the teams are so much closer now to the receiving
they're right on
team
top of each other.
that they can't move until that ball is either hits the ground or hits the hands of the actual receiver.
Yeah, I understand. But on those high kicks, you're fielding that thing can bounce out of someone's hands.
It could
move a good 10 yards downfield, and the next thing you know, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as what I think you're going to get some kickers that are going to direct, because most teams are going to have two receivers back there, and it's going to be tough because I think the best thing to do, the best strategy is to try to kick it within that 20 yards and have it bounce in the end zone. And then they would just have to take it out to the 25-yard line. And it'll be kind of like a kick it to the end zone.
That's just a touchback, yeah.
A touchback. Yeah. But since you have two receivers back there, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to do. What we want to see is, and what I think is going to happen, is this is going to be more or less a running play. And this is going to be a trial and error. This is a trial. This new kickoff rule isn't set in stone. They're trying it out this year. They're going to see how well it does. But it's going to make things a little bit interesting because they are going to try to scheme plays up. They're actually going to try to scheme like a running, it's kind of like a running play. So it's going to be very interesting who's going to be out there, who's going to be making those blocks, and who's going to be, trying to shed those blocks. Are they going to have more linebacker type players out there? You're going to make it slow down a little bit, and if a runner does bust loose, like I think it's going to happen on a more
regular
basis.
By the way you're talking about, yeah.
So it's a strategy that I find fascinating, to be honest with you.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating, I tell you. Fascinating.
To me, I think it's interesting how it's going to go. But if last night was any indicator, I don't think it's going to be anything more spectacular or any less. I think it's going to be an interesting thing on how they're able to strategize for it and how they're able to do different things for it. But would you say you're going to have at least 30 kicks a week go past 40-yard returns? That's pretty.
I think so. Yam, yes, if it does, but it has to. If it bounces in the field of play, then goes into the end zone, then they get it like at the 25 or 30-yard line. They were talking about that last night in the game before I fell asleep. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the XFL last year, I mean, there was people broke loose all the time.
Well, half of them are, convicts, so
That's
they're
true.
used to it. Anyway,
That's true.
all right. So, Scott, welcome back. How you feeling?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Apologies for that. It was my the software for my camera decided just to completely die. And
Because you're breathing on it, you sick bastard.
Sorry, Yam.
I've realised that it's got to be hardwired, so I've just had to hardwire it into the laptop there. So it's all good. It's all good. I'm there now, I think.
All right, so coming up on preseason here. Well, last year we had Ken on right before preseason. You started telling us about some of these guys that you wanted to see, and then one of them you just called for as a cut. So why don't we start off with you? Who are you looking for in this preseason? Who are you looking to see either step up or prove that he needs a spot?
Is that to me, John, or Ken? Sorry.
Oh, I was going to throw it over to our guest first, but if you're feeling like you got to hit for the bad,
go for it, Scott. Go for it.
No, you go, Ken. Honestly, I didn't know who that question was to. Sorry, John.
Oh, it's quite all right.
It was kind of pointed to Scott, and then John flipped it to Ken.
Plus keeping him on there too.
All right,
great hosting.
What I want to see is not necessarily all the guys that we drafted early or guys that are veterans. I want to see someone like a Sam Hartman. Is he worthy of the undrafted free agent money that we gave him, which was substantial? I want to see a battle between undrafted free agents, running back Michael Wiley and Austin Jones. I want to see that battle. I want to see
Adams like my post.
I want to see someone like Marcus Rosemead Jack Saint, and I think he brings a little excitement to the team. Do I think he makes the roster? No, but I do believe he's on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Armani Rogers. Is he healthy? Is he good?
He got a catch the other day. He got his name.
He had a catch the other day, but okay. I want to see him in action.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see a guard that not too many people are talking about. He won't start. He probably won't play hardly at all this season. But can he make the roster as a dependable backup? And that's Mason Brooks.
Yeah.
I want to see him. I want to see Caillou Blue Kelly. I want to see him in action. I believe that he's on the bubble as far as the roster goes. Also at cornerback, rookie, undrafted free agent rookie, A.J. Woods. I want to see him someone like a second-year player like Andre Jones, defensive end.
KJ Henry, Andre Jones.
He's going to step up this year.
Yeah.
So these are some of, obviously I want to see, the kicker competition. I want to see both kickers during the game, both Ahmed and Riley Patterson. I want to see what they can do. Yesterday it was reported both of them went 5 for 5, in practice. Doesn't mean a thing, but, that's encouraging. And it was Josh Taylor that put it out there today that Riley Patterson is looking very good. That's nice. And that he's and that's who he favors. But I think we need to see really a lot of these younger players, undrafted free agents, and some of the late round guys. Obviously, you throw Tyler Owens in here.
Right.
He's making the team.
Yep.
I think
you want to see Javante Baptiste. I want to see him.
A Newseum.
Newseum or something.
And I'm excited. Really, I think most of all, the player I want to see the most, another late round guy, is Jordan McGee at linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he is getting a lot of
he's getting a lot of starter reps.
He's taking Jamin Davis's job.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's that could
He's
be
taking the
true.
spot away that he
But-
could have possibly fit in. Put it that way. He might not be the one
Jordan
taking that
McGee-
job, but yeah, he's taking that spot.
If we can see him in the preseason games, but especially the first one, starting to distinguish himself, I think this is someone who could have a key role on the team.
Well, he's got that.
Season. This team over the years, especially in recent years, even under the Rivera regime, really had pretty good success with fifth rounders. So let that tradition continue. So that's the player I want to see the most in the preseason. And I'll even toss in Luke McCaffrey, but he's looking good. And I think we know that he's going to be one of the three main receivers this year.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Speaking of receivers, I'm going to put a name out there that is getting a lot of he's catching a lot of big passes, and I think he's going to pass Tinsley on the depth charts here pretty soon. Is Bryson Tremaine? He is a big receiver, big-bodied receiver, one that we haven't really had in a long time. Cam Sims, we were hoping Cam Sims would turn into that guy, but maybe with some development, Tremaine can turn around and be that big-bodied receiver that we've been missing for so long. But he's been standing out in camp, and I'm definitely excited to see if he can be one of those that can take that momentum into the game.
That's a name that I've been also following is Mitchell Tinsley because A, I'm a Penn State fan, and B, I've heard his name flash quite a bit this week. I think it was Nikki Jablava that said Javala.
Blah blah blah.
Right. It was Nikki said today that he roasted one of our corners, and she wouldn't say who it was.
No. Terry roasted.
Terry roasted
Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah. Terry did a comeback on him and roasted him, but she said Tinsley just absolutely flew by somebody.
He gave him broke.
Does his last name rhyme with Snorbs?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it did.
But I've also heard good things about Forbes so far in this camp. And I like Ken said, and I agree, it's hard right now because this is a fan show for anybody that hasn't figured it out yet. Ken's the closest thing we have to an expert in here. And none of us are at camp, so we're just going by what other people are telling us. And what we're hearing so far has been pretty positive. And really, Ken and I are old enough to know when smoke is being blown up our ass like it has been for the last 20 years. And we know that even though we have sucked on the Kool-Aid, the Sam Howell Kool-Aid, all the other drinks that we've been handed, there's always been this voice in the back of our head that goes, you're full of shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Deluxe is absolutely right because I remember seeing that, and it was Terry that absolutely broke
Forbes
today. Right. Broke his ankles.
Just one quick one for Ken is: do you think any of these other running backs push Rodriguez further down the depth chart, or do they look to keep 4 running backs? Because obviously it's a numbers game as we get.
Look, the 3, and I'll go ahead and tell you. Brian Robinson is first on my depth chart. Second is Austin Eckler. Third is Chris Rodriguez. Michael Wiley.
That's where I'm going with Wiley and McNichols.
Is someone that could potentially, but I think they're keeping 3 this year, just like last year. And there's going to be no changes. But I do think if there's an injury, I do think the running back that gets called up along the way is Michael Wiley. Now, you got to remember, what's the young man's name out of USC, the running back?
Jones, is it?
That's the one I've been hearing good things about is Jones. Not so much.
Well, yeah, but Michael Wiley's been looking good. I've been watching some of the tape, what limited there is, and he's been impressing me because I've been watching kind of in the background what he's doing when he doesn't have the ball. I like the way he's moving and everything. Anyway, but do keep an eye on that running back from Southern Cal because guess who he played for at Southern Cal as their offensive coordinator?
Yep.
Yeah. That's our current offensive coordinator.
Let me throw this out there when it comes to the running backs. And I heard this just this morning. I believe it was Bram Weinstein on his show. He was talking about Rodriguez. Up until this morning, I had zero doubts about Rodriguez is going to be our running back 3. No questions whatsoever because I haven't heard anything else, nothing else until Bram brought it up, and he's out there every day. He's the voice of Washington. He calls all the games, and he said that Rodriguez might not be such a sure thing, but some of these younger players are stepping up. And all I think it comes down to special teams.
Tell you, man, I like the way Rodriguez ran the ball last year.
That's
really
some
did.
food for thought for everybody, because that's the first time I heard anything about, Rodriguez, and I thought it was a lock. And what Bram says, I usually take in pretty good because he's pretty damn plugged in with the team, and he's out there every second of the game. It was just really interesting. I had to do a double take. I'm like, what, really? He has some questions about Rodriguez. I love the way Rodriguez runs. I think he's one of those players, kind of like a Brian Robinson, that the more he gets, the better he gets as it goes along.
Dude, I think we have a genuine bell cow in Brian Robinson. And I think that
Love
he's a 30 touch a game type guy. And even though that's people, any offensive coordinator just now that was listening to the show fell over dead with 30 touches. Oh my God. But I think he is. And he's the kind of guy that, like you said, he gets better as the game goes on. Last year, in the few opportunities that he had early on in games, when they didn't abandon it because he got 2 yards on the first try.
I love how he hits the hole, man.
He does. You let him start hitting those linebackers by the third quarter, it's going to bust loose. Old time football, winning football.
And the Atlanta Falcons game. Oh man, when he just ran through that dude's chest. I mean,
he got fined for that.
He ran through his chest. His chest went around his head, and then they connected back together again. That was the best play I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, that was the best play last year.
One area we're not talking about as much in camp, and we haven't heard much out of, is the tight end battle. And this is, for me, going to be really, really interesting.
He's good.
I know that Ertz is good, and touch wood, he stays fit and healthy. But injuries is going to play a key part on this. But again, you mentioned it earlier, Ken, just before I was rudely cut off, that you think Cole Turner is a cut. I kind of agree with you. It's where Armani Rogers as well. Where does he end up? Yankov.
How many are we keeping?
The team. That's the other thing.
How many tight ends are we keeping, Scott?
I have no idea. 3?
Ken, you
4?
think 3?
Yes.
That's interesting. It's all about the numbers, man.
Because we're so top heavy with a defensive end and defensive tackle I've just had a look. Then there's 10 wide receivers on camp at the minute. There's 14 D ends and D tackles. I mean, it just. Crazy. You're hearing about our old mate Ben Potatoes out there doing some things again today. I mean, he isn't making the roster, but no offense to him. I mean, I'm sure he's a very good camp body.
We could have the best practice squad in the entire NFL.
I think
with some of the guys. I'm joking, of course, but it's going to be some interesting decisions this coaching staff is going to have to 100%. Make.
It's going to be hard.
And I'm all for it, man. I am looking forward to it. It's interesting, Ken. So you're thinking 3 tight ends. You think they're going to have to keep 2 on the practice squad, at least 2?
We'll try.
I only have 1, and that's Colson Yankov.
Yeah, I love – I think that – I don't think he's going to make the team, but I want him to make the team. I want his jersey for 1.
Everybody wants his
jersey. He's you're hearing his name left and right. You're actually hearing more about Yankov than you are Sinnott.
Listen, next year there's a guard coming out of Purdue by the name of Jimmy Vagina Wrecker, and if we draft him, that's going to be a top selling jersey right there.
Come on, John.
You see what I got to put
I
up
have
with
nothing. I have nothing.
No, I know you have nothing to that. There was a line, and John just hurdled it. So.
I'm sorry, but there's no line there. That was practically good enough for Sesame Street.
And speaking of hurdles, I've got a list for you.
Oh, wait a minute, we've got a list here. We've got a Scott is sick.
Did you print out that list? Did you print it out? Is that typed?
Welcome to Scott.
That's a typed list. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes, this has been typed and double checked, double spaced.
Mine is digital. Watch my face. Watch my face as I bring it up.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, I like that.
And now
it's show notes. I like it. So this week,
Scott's
this week's
still killing
list
trees.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right, Scott's list. What we got?
The list this week is not about football. I'm going to the Olympics.
Oh, the Olympics.
We talked about the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go the 5 events that I'm looking at that I think should not be in the Olympics, and we can discuss this. We have BMX
There's a lot
freestyle.
of them. Yeah, who cares?
We have BMX racing. Why? Breakdancing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who cares?
Skateboarding.
Right.
And 3-on-3 basketball. Now I get basketball.
Okay, let me
but
start
not
first.
3-on-3.
Please. All right, Jesse,
Wow.
please go ahead.
Okay.
You start first.
BMX skateboarding is a worldwide sport, extreme sport, but sport. Okay,
Olympic sport, there is it.
but it is
Come on.
though.
Could you see the ancient Greeks doing that?
Do you see
Darts.
the ancient Greeks doing that? I have to take a shit race. You know, the speed walking.
Yeah.
Well, yes. As a matter of
Like-
fact, if an ancient Greek wanted to stay a virgin, that's exactly how he had to walk.
John, that's how
Yeah.
Aristotle started. Then he went into philosophy after
That's
that.
right. It was called the Aristotle Waddle, and that began the whole thing right there.
There you go.
What about synchronized freaking swimming? I mean, like
I get you.
Yeah.
Like,
I get you.
Listen,
They
at
bring
least
anything in
skateboarding actually takes skill. Okay.
Equestrian. I mean, Yams brought it up. We always win gold medals in equestrian because we must be British, must be horsey people. But yeah, we do
The
we
horse
do well
is
in
doing
that.
all the
event.
work.
I have to totally put the flag out on your list there because I grew up a skateboarder. I grew up racing bikes. It is a.
I get it. All I'm saying is it's not an Olympic sport. Why? Okay, if that's an Olympic sport, you say many people enjoy it as a worldwide sport. Darts is a worldwide sport. I don't want to see a 25-stone man drinking half a pint throwing darts from the
but
hockey
I would-
at
if
the
now-
Olympics.
See, Jesse, you got to realize Scott grew up with a stick and a hoop as his toys. He was rolling them down the street.
Hey guys, what about shooting? What about shooting?
Yeah, exactly. Shooting. That's another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do love this guy this turkey
You're
guy.
a Turkish 51-year-old man.
Dude won the medal and said, "I want my dog back to his ex-wife."
If you can sweep ice and throw a stone down, you know, and you take that as a sport. Okay.
That's a Winter Olympics. That's curling.
Judo has been a
Same
sport
thing?
in
Yeah.
the Olympics for
It's
so long.
Olympic.
And have you ever
Listen.
watched Olympic judo? It is basically just a ninth grade fight. Grab each other by the shirt and throw each other around. It's ridiculous watching that shit. But that's
I mean,
put
fencing-
cheese rolling.
fencing is
cheese rolling.
goofier than
Why don't we
shit.
put cheese rolling in?
Cheese rolling? Why not?
Exactly.
Roll a big cheese down the hill and watch people
Exactly.
chase you. Why not?
It's brilliant.
I will say this. I watched the women's rugby sevens this week, and
Great.
that was
Absolutely
awesome.
great.
That was awesome. Ken, did you catch any of that?
No, but I'm gonna bring up another one that should
Go
be.
on.
Have any of you watched Revenge of the Nerds?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, you know, in the competition, you know what was early on in that competition?
The nerd throwing.
No,
Oh, the booger snatch.
the belching
The
contest.
belching contest. Okay.
Okay, so there you go. I'll be all for that one, and the other one would be the passing gas contest.
Oh, I think Jesse would win the gold at that, definitely.
He would definitely.
That's what
One
I
other
would
one-
like to see. I would
one other
love
one
to
that-
see those two
Go on.
things, and I could potentially win both of them.
All right.
Do you know one other thing that came out that was I thought was quite funny as an Olympic sport was, oh man, I'm trying to think of which one it was now.
Oh, I love curling too, Yam. When curling is on
It's
in the
ace.
Olympics, I am
Curling is
glued
ace.
to the fucking TV.
the
Even though it's the
ping pong.
dumbest fucking sport in the world, I am glued to the TV. I absolutely love it.
There's a lot of things like that are in the Olympics that you just
Oh,
can't
that was what it
stop
used
watching.
to be. So back in the day in the Olympics when it first started out and Olympics was going around, and I think it was actually at the British Games, you used to be able to get a gold medal up until 1970 odd in town planning.
Town planning.
I swear that is not a lie. I promise you. Town
That
planning.
the video I sent y'all in our chat
Yeah.
of them
The walking.
walking,
Yeah.
speed walking. I mean,
Walking. It's one of the goofiest looking things ever. And you know, the weird
the
thing about
25
speed walking, there's
the
so many rules as to how
25
you do
walk.
it.
Yeah, the 25-meter walk looks like a duck walk.
It looks like it's a guy who has to take a shit and doesn't
Yeah.
want to. He's on his way.
the turtle head is poking through,
right,
and he
he's
is
poking
trying
out.
to shove that shit back up.
That's exactly what it looks like.
I agree with Deluxe here. Drunk tricycle racing would be great. Yeah, why not?
I think the I have to take a shit walk is a very everybody has participated in this sport.
Every human.
We should also have the 10-yard. Oh shit! I don't have any toilet paper.
Ooh, that would be
You
good.
got to kind of crab walk down the track. I've been there. I think I've been enjoying mostly the women's team sports. I was watching soccer. There's a USA women play tomorrow morning. They've been kicking ass.
Like soccer, like volleyball, even basketball is you know. I love American sports, and I
but
cheer
three
on
on
the
three,
Americans.
3-on-3 basketball. I mean, come on now, that's park stuff.
Yeah.
That
it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with you with that. I mean,
normal
creative seesaw
basketball,
riding.
I completely get basketball. That's absolutely cool, no problem at all.
But I understand. And BMX and skateboarding and surfing is relatively new to the Olympics. And what happens is the host of the Olympics are allowed to introduce a sport, and that's why breakdancing has been introduced.
The French said, "Let us introduce pissing off conservatives." We been in the gold.
Now, let me ask you this. They got rid of women's softball in the Olympics and put in breakdancing.
Yeah.
Which one should be in?
Women's softball, 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought the French were bringing in backwards tank driving, but, you know, because we only have reverse.
They have to vote on whether these sports continue on after it's over with. So I don't know. I haven't watched any of the breakdancing. I don't know if anybody else has, but I
watch the gymnastics. I mean, breakdancing.
Yeah, no, gymnastics is great.
If I want to watch,
I'm excited for the track and field portion to really kick off. And I'm gonna sit there with my American flag and cheer on my Americans.
Electric Boogaloo is on anytime you want to watch it.
And I love the rivalry between us and Australia. It's like a big rivalry right now in all the games.
Yeah, I was watching the women's rugby final, and I'll tell you what, dude, these girls. I hate to say girls, but these women hit each other like they're playing pro football, dude. It's crazy how hard they're hitting each other.
Have you never seen rugby before?
I've seen rugby before, but it's just I've never seen women playing like that before.
Mate,
it's a bunch of bowling balls.
No, they're not. They're not a bunch of bowling balls. And I'll tell you what, this woman,
the men's is. They're all built like bowling balls, all rock hard.
This woman from freaking New Zealand is over there on the sidelines. Her face looks like she's just gone 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. She's getting her head put back together, and she goes out there and wins the game. And then they're doing the gold medal ceremony, and I mean they're going down the thing while they're all singing the anthem. And there she is. She looks like that guy she looks like Sloth from whatever that
Sloth
movie.
Goonies.
Yeah, it's like, my God, this woman got the shit knocked out of her, man. But it was very exciting. I liked it.
Is Goonies scary? No. In all seriousness, that I've played against women at rugby and trained with them. So there's a lady called Amy Cocaine, no relation to the drug.
Okay.
She's a military police officer for the RAF. She's also an England international rugby player. So she is the women's international hooker. She plays at number 2. And I also played in that position for the men for the RAF. And yeah, okay. So when we were both playing together and training, it was like, oh, come on, we'll scrummage against each other, etc., etc. And I swear to you, John, she absolutely destroyed me off the park, and I was like, where have you come from? And now she's got 62 caps, and she's the England women's captain. She's unbelievable. So it is. Okay. They are out there already. The women's rugby is huge.
Oh yeah, it's pretty big. And
huge.
The American
and the sevens is ridiculous.
The American
is just ridiculous.
Ken, did you see the end of the American team game? The girl that picked up the ball and ran like a 95-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's a try. Yeah. It's a try, not a touchdown, John.
Dude, same thing. Call it whatever the hell you want. We're Americans.
All right, we're going back to football.
I'd like to go back to hand egg ball, please, Jesse. Thank you.
Right. Well, I was just going to say they finished so well that a rather rich person donated a ton of money, like $8 million, to American women rugby.
Good for them.
Yeah, I'm glad for that, man.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. It's a good thing to see. Go ahead, Ken.
They beat for the bronze. They beat who?
The bronze?
It was Australia, wasn't it?
Australia.
Yeah, they did.
Australia
or
New Zealand.
I haven't heard anything from Chad Ryan about that.
Yeah, he's been quiet because we've been kicking Australia's ass pretty much all Olympics.
Yeah, fuck the Sheilas.
Well,
shout out to Katie Ledecky, hometown girl. She is so amazing.
We've been doing that since
swimmer.
1923.
She did the 1500, and it was funny when she finished. All the other girls weren't even on the screen.
She got out of the pool, went and had a freaking bowl of salad. Yeah, sat back, chilled out for a bit before they waited for them to finish.
All right, back to football.
All right, it's back to football. Do you think they should ever put flag football in the Olympics?
No.
No? Why not? Tackle or nothing, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, you have a women's professional football league in the United States.
Right.
Yeah, no one really knows about it. I actually think there may be two of them.
What's her name? Our running back coach used to play for. What was her name?
And so, not too long ago, I looked at some of the rosters, and I'm like, most of them are former basketball players, college athletes in whatever sport. Some of them are pretty good, but there was one young lady, she doesn't play anymore, who was a college basketball player, was a center, so she's pretty tall. And she stood 6'7", weighed 310 pounds, and she played offensive and defensive line. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to watch that because she's going to destroy all the other girls, along the line.
Yeah, you always see that one on the line that's just a monster, and you're like, good gracious.
Yeah.
You were born for this.
But, I'm sure they're good athletes. Will I watch it? Probably not. But I've said for many years that I wouldn't watch women's basketball, and I'm still pretty much holding true to that. I've watched a few bits of games this summer.
Caitlin Clark's has got me hooked.
With Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. And I watched a little bit of it. Not bad, but it's still not the guys' game where you have dunks, flashy plays.
They're just not very good. Yeah, it's just not a very good game. I hate to say it.
Like Angel Reese will get 8 of her own rebounds where she missed a shot underneath the basket and finally put it in. And they say, oh, she has 15 rebounds for the game. Yeah, most of them was shots she missed.
3 of them on that last shot.
So no, that's not a knock on Angel Reese or Caitlin. They're good athletes. They really are. Yeah. But for me, look, I still cannot watch a full game.
Men are superior athletes, and that's not a sexist comment. That's just fact.
15 years, if I'm still around, sure. But
especially if you're an Algerian boxer. Anyway, sorry. You just said men are superior athletes. I said especially if you're an Algerian boxer. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Football.
We're not getting into that. Football. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Should we talk about football? We were just not. What were you talking about, Ken? I completely blanked out on that. We were talking about something that had absolutely no bearing on this game whatsoever.
Women's basketball.
Women's basketball. Oh, right. That's the one thing I wanted to say about Caitlin Clark. All of you people out there with your Caitlin Clark, all of this shit. Here's what I have to say.
Jersey
football
incoming.
Can't come goddamn fast enough.
Yeah.
It's either that or my timeline is filled up with fucking wrestling morons.
We
Look,
are,
you people.
we are,
grow the fuck up.
We are 6 weeks away. Okay,
Thank
6 weeks
Thank
away from. Okay,
6 weeks. 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
6 weeks for us.
6 weeks from
Christ,
for us.
fucking
Yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah, for us to be able to see you guys in person. I really wish, Ken, you'd be able to come out. That would be fantastic. We'd love to see you in person.
I can't do it.
But we'll take plenty of pictures and plenty of videos, and you'll be there in spirit with us. But we got to ramp up to get to that spot. So now, what do we want to see? First preseason games, it's right around the corner. We had the practice.
Before we get to that, we got joint practice next week, haven't we?
With the Jets.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Well,
we got to
I'll tell
practice
you what.
with the Jets on Wednesday.
I have a question that I want to put out to the room, and I want to put it out to Ken in particular, and it's the big elephant in the room, and it's Jamin Davis. All right, the numbers that we were talking about earlier don't seem to favor him. All right, he's got a high draft status, but not with this crew. And if they can't find, I keep hearing that he's going out there against Braden Daniels, right?
And
that doesn't bode
Hurts.
well. I want to see specifically when does he come in during the game and where do they put him? That's what I want.
Before Ken goes, I'm just going to put this now. They moved him back to linebacker today.
That's not a good sign.
It's not a good sign.
No.
Ken, what do you think about Jamin Davis, buddy?
Yeah, sorry.
After all that, I still think he'll be on the roster.
Just too much talent to lose, you just have to hold on to it and see.
I think two things. If they release him now anytime soon, of course anybody can pick him up or can sign a new contract that would be in his rookie contract.
Right.
But I do think he still has some value. And I think if you look toward the end of last season and some of the plays he was making, it was pretty good. It wasn't earth-shattering, but not bad. So I think before we write him off, I think he does have a place on the depth chart, and I think he'll see action in all 17 games, provided no injuries. But I don't think he's going to be a starter. I don't think he's going to be,
he's never played special teams,
even a quality depth piece. But I do think he'll be, in games this season. But also, I don't think you can rule out a trade sometime.
No, sure. Right.
And that's why I think
round pick,
you keep them on the roster, and I think, he could bring a late round pick, not necessarily even a seventh, but maybe a fifth or a sixth, because
you got to be able to sell somebody on that potential.
And listen, hear me out, because in these preseason games, there's going to be injuries.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
teams may have a need at linebacker. I mean, we had a need at linebacker, it seemed like, for 10 decades. And, and I'm like, go get someone.
Jamin was supposed to fix that.
Yeah, he was supposed to, but he didn't. Again,
he was a project, and they said so.
Yeah. So
I want to touch on Brian's. Go ahead. Finish up, Ken.
I think you hang on to him for those reasons. I'll stop there.
Yeah. Now, I just want to touch on Brian's comment because, yes, he absolutely did say that this was the plan for Jamin. But my prediction was, all right, so you got your mini camps and OTAs. They had him playing at linebacker. They're like, well, you know what? I think we need to try to, get him at defensive end. Let's see what he does. Then he plays defensive end in the beginning of the training camp. You know what? It's not working out. Let's go. I think this is coach speak. And I don't blame Dan Quinn for saying that because he's just trying to save face. This is just my opinion. Now, I don't know. I don't think they know what to do with Jamin Davis. And this is why I have a feeling that he's on that bubble. He is on that bubble because there's so many, who are you keeping over him?
I'm definitely keeping McGee.
100%.
I'm definitely keeping.
McGee's a starter. In base,
he's interesting.
3 linebacker, he's a starter.
Pittman's flashed as a linebacker as well, so you've got to think of him on the roster as well. And then, as you said, Jesse, and to your point there, going back to what DQ has said, moving into defensive end, the idea was he was going to be our Micah Parsons. Now, he's not the athlete that Micah Parsons is in that respect, that he can do that and change around. He has the speed and the tangibles to do something. And as Ken's point, he was saying, you know what, you could do that, and you could get a late round draft pick if you keep him on the roster, because the talent is there, or else he would never have gone in the first round. Speed is there.
Yeah.
But it goes back to who is. Go on, Ken.
Now, here are the linebackers real quick, that I have on the roster. Bobby Wagner, that's a given.
Of course.
Frankie Louvu, that's a given. Jordan McGee, that's a given.
Oh. Sorry, that was nice. I'm just enjoying that.
Okay. I do have Jamin Davis, and I also have Michael Walker.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Walker is one that I've heard a lot about.
The thing about Jamin Davis right now is, okay, whether they say that this was the plan for him all along, it's not something that I think is viable. He can't play linebacker. He gets lost in traffic out there trying to find his cue, unless we see a miraculous turnaround. All of a sudden, he learns how to play and how to.
He's had his good games.
He's had his okay games, but and at the same time, when it comes to being a pass rusher, I mean, unless he is a dedicated blitzer, he's been going against Braden Daniels and getting washed to the outside. He's been going against schmucks and getting run around.
You know, Davis was in a tough spot coming into this year. You know, trying to learn a new position, it can't be
because he can't play the other one.
It can't be easy.
They completely replaced. They said any chance that you're getting in at linebacker is not going to happen. We're going to replace every possible way that we can keep you on the field.
And to kind of almost rebuttal John's point, you've got to say, if you're letting go this team last year and the people who have been the holdovers, like even Jahan Dotson, or it was a down year, is it down to coaching, blah, 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 blah. You've got to afford the same thing to Jamin Davis.
Sure.
Because the coaching staff was terrible.
Well, at the same time,
what you say, they couldn't pick a linebacker. We've just said that. You've just sat there going, "Oh my God, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Jordan McGee." We didn't have any linebackers. John Bostic and David Mayo, for crying out loud.
We had two outstanding linebackers as coaches, and we had absolutely shit for linebackers.
When you showed me that video of those race walkers in the Olympic, I thought that was Cole Hogan. The things that we swallowed.
You got to just afford him the time as well. Was it down to coaching?
Well,
you know, there?
Whether it is or not, the thing about Jahan Dotson, and I'm just going to say this as somebody who watched him for so many years, the ability is there. It's very much there. And last year, our passing coordination was terrible. Jesse, I think it was like week 2 I started saying to you, why are they so fucking bunched up together? Why am I always seeing 2 receivers within 2 yards of each other as the ball is coming in? And I think when you saw the exit interview with him last year, I have never seen a player that far down that doesn't just immediately run out to a bridge.
Jahan had a really good interview with Kay Adams today, and he was talking about just the rejuvenation and how he feels. You know, Jahan is a great route runner, no doubt about it. And in college, he had fantastic hands. Mm-hmm. Now, he has had some yips with drops.
Second-year receiver.
That also has, from what I'm hearing, he's dropped a couple balls in practice. Hopefully he gets over that. But I have zero doubts that Jahan is our number 2 wide receiver, and I think he's going to have a really good bounce back year.
Yeah, I expect it. I absolutely expect it.
Okay, let me get to my receiver projections here real quickly, if I may. Yeah. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
This is going to be very interesting. Obviously, I have Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 1. Right. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver 2. Luke McCaffrey, 3. I have moving up to the 4th slot, Byron Pringle.
Wow.
I like Byron Pringle.
I don't hate that at all.
Also, he'll be on special teams. De'Ami Brown, I have 5th, Jamison Crowder. Next at 6, special teams, obviously. Then Olamide Zacchaeus, I think it rounds out the 7th guy. I think they have 7.
Wow. Yeah, keeping 7. Yeah, we were talking about that last week. How many receivers are they going to keep?
Well, I have 3 tight ends.
No, I totally understand that. I would put Jamison Crowder. I would put him above. Diamond Brown.
I should hope so. Yeah. I mean, putting him above I think right below Malcolm Kelly.
Although,
how about Marco Mitchell?
Marco Mitchell.
Yeah, Marco Mitchell.
He was tall.
He was a big guy. Although, I will say, in the end of that, and that's why they brought Pringle in, man. They were just not happy with the bottom of the receiver room, And this, I mean, it's all depends on how many they keep. But I'm hearing not Mitchell Tinsley, but what's his name? Bryson Tremaine, left and right all summer long.
Hearing that all the time.
And he's the type of one of the type of receiver we do not have. It's a big bodied receiver. What's going to get interesting is Diamond Brown's getting, his name dropped. Dan Quinn's dropped his name multiple times in multiple different, pre-practice interviews. We've heard this before. Diamond Brown's been good at practice, but when it comes to the games, he either can't separate or can't catch.
Right.
I'm sure they've seen the film. So I'm sure they're going to take that in consideration.
You can't
Brown was on the bubble for me. He's on that could make or could miss depending upon how many receivers that they keep. But I love the fact that they brought Pringle in. I thought Pringle played well for us last year, given the opportunity and given the situation with
some
our
clutch plays last year.
Yeah, with the coaching staff and the play caller and obviously the quarterback. I give Pringle a better shot at making this team than Diami Brown.
All right, well, real quick, while you guys have a break, real quick, I'm going to have to ditch out of here. This is my wedding anniversary. It's my 22nd wedding anniversary, and my lovely bride is looking at me, asking me why I'm wasting it with you fucking guys. So I'm gonna head out and go have some dinner with my angel.
Well, you
Ken,
enjoy and happy anniversary.
Thanks, everybody. Ken, it was good to see you.
Didn't y'all spend like 2 weeks in Italy?
We
don't
were
get
in
enough
Italy.
anniversary in.
Hey, man. When you're a jet-setting globetrotter like I am, there you go. Scott, I hope you feel better. Ken, I hope you feel better. I hope you feel fine. Jesse, I will see you next time.
Later,
and everybody
buddy.
else, I'll see you later.
But the wide receiver room is interesting. Especially that bottom three. Like, where are they going to line up? Who are they going to keep? I think obviously special teams is going to have a heck of a lot to play. I think Zacchaeus, I think he's got a spot on this team. I really do. Go ahead, Scott.
Jesse, while we got Ken on, is it all right, Ken, if you can round out your defensive ends and defensive tackles side of what you've got on your roster? I hope I'm not taking anything away from your writing stuff, but I just find this really interesting because my boy, unfortunately, I think is going to be on the pup list and isn't going to be even.
Obata speaking about
F.A. Obata.
F.A. Yeah.
Yes, he will be on the pup list. That's my prediction. I'm also predicting that, given the nature of his injury late in the season, that I don't think he plays this year.
He won't play this year. I hope not, but we'll see. I hope he does, but we'll see.
I'll get to the ends and tackles in just a moment. I want to say one thing about Pringle. He was primarily brought back for special teams, and I'm going to be brutally honest here about Dax Milne, who was released. He should have been released 2 years ago.
100%.
Absolutely agree.
He was kept because he could catch a punt and fair catch a punt. That's it.
And you know what? Once in a while, he was good for a 15-yard return. I'm sorry, but we've had iconic punt returners in our history that goes back 40-plus years. We can remember the iconic return that Darrell Green had back in the 1980s. I don't even need to tell you when that game was. Everybody knows. And they've seen that film a million times, and so have fans of other teams. It's what propelled them to win that playoff game, get to the NFC Championship game and win it, and then go on to win the Super Bowl. It was that play that sent them to the Super Bowl victory.
Oh, yeah.
And we remember that. We also remember Brian Mitchell and his kickoff return in the 1999 playoff game that brought them to the brink of the NFC Championship game. The only thing that stopped the team was a botched field goal snap at the end of the game, and we couldn't get it off. And I'm convinced that Brett Conway would have hit that field goal and send them to the NFC Championship game. But we remember Brian Mitchell returning kickoffs and punts for touchdowns, several of them. But that's one of the iconic ones. We remember Santana Moss returning a punt, all about 80 yards for a touchdown against the Detroit Lions. That, you're not going to have punt and kickoff returns multiple times a year, but there's going to be those iconic moments, and it happens when you least expect it.
Sure.
Dax Milne never brought you that, ever.
No.
And I'm not saying Pringle can do it.
His highest return was like 16 yards, I think, or something like that.
So Pringle,
pathetic.
is not a home run threat either, but he can bring you 15 to 20-yard returns consistently. And maybe he can break one this year. Yeah. I'm not saying he will, but again, these things happen when you least expect it.
And Crowder showed last year that he still got wheels.
Exactly. So to me, Dax Milne, goodbye, thank goodness, good riddance. Now, let me get to the defensive tackles and defensive ends. Here are my defensive tackles who make the team.
Okay.
Jonathan Allen, we know that.
Yep.
Deron Payne.
Yep.
Johnny Newton.
Of course.
And he might miss the first 3 or 4 games of the season. We'll have to wait and see. But he's making the team. And I'm predicting he's going to have a great impact as the season goes on.
He just started doing 11-on-11 work, I think, today. So it's looking up for him.
Yeah, and you have John Ridgway, who comes in and
that's my exact
is a great depth piece. So those are the 4 I have, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a good room right there. I don't care what anybody says. That's one of the top defensive tackle rooms in the entire league.
I got exactly the same 4, and I got 6 D ends, and I'd be interested to see what you got there.
Okay, now defensive end / edge rushers.
Yeah.
Dorrance Armstrong.
Yeah.
Cleveland Farrell.
Yeah.
Dante Fowler.
Yeah.
KJ Henry.
Yeah.
And Javante John Baptiste.
So you've only got 5. I've got Andre Jones there as well.
Yeah, I think again we're playing the numbers games.
It's the numbers game though. I went with 10 overall, so
I think he ends up on the practice squad, but these 5 I think make the team. 4 of them are given, I believe.
Yeah.
And Baptiste, John Baptiste will be, I think, that 5th player. He brings a lot of energy to the team. Yes, he's a 7th rounder, but I believe he's a good player. And it wouldn't surprise me if right now he's ahead of Andre Jones on the depth chart. So that's my ends and my tackles. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to send me emails, direct messages.
I don't think there's enough. There's enough in Phil Mathis, so you wouldn't keep him. I don't think there's enough there to even consider what he's done for
I think Ridgway's got that last defensive tackle spot.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
and then on the end side of it, it's tough.
I mean, he might be traded for a swap of 7th round picks, and that's the most you could hope for from him.
And this is this is conundrum. How many defensive ends are you keeping? And that kind of goes along with that linebacker room too. When you got Frankie Louvie, Bobby Wagner, Michael Pittman, Jordan McGee, Mikhail Walker, and then you got Bo Bauer. Jamin Davis isn't even listed on the depth chart right now, in either position. Right now,
it's very true. He's not. You are correct.
Well, here's the thing about depth charts at this time of the year.
Yeah, you can't.
You just honestly don't know.
Yeah, I'm on ESPN's depth chart right now, and John Kime fills that out. But it's all about numbers. Can you mention it a bunch of times on the podcast? And I use this as my reasoning for thinking that Forrest could possibly be on the bubble. Same thing with Jamin Davis. Same thing with Diami Brown. You get to the end of the roster, and somebody's getting cut that you're not. You think they should make the team. Mm-hmm. You got these young players coming up, and I think they're going to be more likely to try to give these guys a shot than your 3rd and 4th year bottom end roster types that just hasn't progressed in the way that is needed to have a stable spot on an NFL team. No thoughts? No?
Yeah, I agree completely with you. It's going to be interesting because we've had these sort of players. I know the chat there. I looked at Brian and Deluxe said the same thing. I'd rather have Kaz Allen, Tinsley, Bryson Tremaine, these sort of players. But they've never really stepped up to go from the practice squad up to elevate themselves. Now, you think at this stage, you've got 3 locks at wide receiver, 3 absolute locks. Thereafter, it's anybody's game. And if you're not showing out in practice to show people, I am now going to elevate myself from that practice squad to get to the next stage, then they're going to struggle. I mean, or why would you be signing someone like Pringle? It just... It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Every year I pick a player that I'm, a bottom roster guy that I'm really interested in, really, want to see. Last year was Mitch Tinsley. This year is Bryson Tremaine. I want to see his development because if he shows up in some of these preseason games, he could steal a roster spot.
Yeah.
And
Ken, do you have a undrafted free agent like Jessy? I've got one that you really think, man, I just really wish and hope he makes the team. Do you have anyone out there?
Yeah, just give me a moment to.
No, you're right.
And I think I know where you're. I think I know where you're going. I think I know where you're going, and I think he is going to steal a roster spot. Go ahead, Scott.
Owens, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think
man. He every day in practice, he is making multiple big plays.
I told you that everyone takes the mick and says, "Oh, he's just got a perfect RAS score." Yeah, but it's there for a reason, or else people wouldn't use RAS scores for scouting players.
He's a big athletic freak, and not only that is he showing up in practice.
Who was it? You said
Tyler Owens.
Okay, that's one of my guys. The other one is Chigozie Anusium.
Yeah.
I really think he has a very realistic chance.
Well, the cornerback room is extremely weak, Ken. I'm more worried about the cornerbacks than I am the offensive line.
Yeah. Let me give you the undrafted free agents that I truly believe makes this roster. This is going to take a second as I come across each one. There is, I'm not actually, I'll talk about that later. Let's see, going through. Again, Anusium, I believe he makes the roster. Another player at corner that I have making the roster is Noah
Igbenogany.
Bogogny.
Yeah, he was actually a former first-round pick
I have him. Apparently, he's having a good camp. I have Tyler Owens.
Owens is the one for me on defense that really is making that noise. But going back to the cornerback room, that scares the crap out of me. Especially with all the coverage breaks down.
Forbes, St. Juice, and Anusium. Igbenogany. That's kind of where you're at, isn't it?
Yeah, right now. I mean, and then you're hearing Kai Blue Kelly is a possible roster spot. How many cornerbacks are you going to keep? Are you going to keep 5? I mean, obviously Sanders still is playing the best out of all the cornerbacks on the team right now. He's the lock at that nickel cornerback. But your outside corners, man, oh man, scare me to death.
Okay, here's a list I have of the practice squad. Sam Hartman, Michael Wiley, Austin Jones, Jack Saint, Bryson Tremaine, Yankoff, Armani Rogers, David Nwagnagu, Mason Brooks, Caillou Blue Kelly, A.J. Woods, Andre Jones, Benning Patoy, Haggai Ndubuisi, Keandre Jones, Percy Butler, I know we talked about that, and Ramiz Ahmed, the kicker. Of these guys, I think, who could make the roster, let's go to Sam Hartman. I have him as a guy who will be protected, and I think that on game days he could be elevated up to the roster just as your third
quarterback. Yeah,
I'm looking for Michael Wiley to maybe make a push. Who knows at running back? I think Jack Saint could make a push as well. But given this wide receiver room, it's going to be difficult. But I do see him on the practice squad for sure. Bryson Tremaine, we've talked about him, as well as Colson Yankoff. Armani Rogers just might be caught up in a numbers game. It's just the way it is. But, you can place him on the practice squad, but, teams might be interested and they will pick him up. Mason Brooks, of course, Blue Kelly. A.J. Woods, another cornerback who may actually have a shot at making the roster just because of the depth in that room. Patoe, I just think that, again, it's a numbers game. It's difficult to see him on the roster. Butler, we've talked about him. So for me, 50-50, but I know that y'all, favor more of the side keeping him on the roster. And I just think Riley Patterson is going to be the kicker, at least for now.
I have a feeling the kicker isn't on the team yet. A lot of teams out there are holding 2 kickers in camp right now, and I think we may see a change later on. Maybe closer to cut time. Deluxe, you're right. I have been. Castro Fields has been playing early. Some with the first stringers and certainly with the second stringer. That's a name that keeps coming up that I can't really fathom. And again, that's another reason why it scares me. If you're playing Castro Fields, mainly with the 2s, Jesus criminy, we're hurting in that department, in my opinion. But again, last year we had a high school coach.
What happens at cuts?
Yeah, we had a high school coach coaching our defensive backs last year. How much stock can you actually put in what we saw on the field last year?
Is the practice squad, Ken, 14 now? Because we
It's
got 15.
It's 16.
Well, we should have 17 then, shouldn't we? Because we've got an extra international.
Yeah,
player.
and that's
Is that
why I
correct?
had that one. His first name is Haggai.
Yeah,
He's
Haggai,
he
the Nigerian
does
guy.
fall into the international gateway program. With that in mind, you can have 17, but 16 is the limit.
Cool. I didn't know if it was 14 or 16, but yeah, it's 16. Thank you.
We have been running for an hour and a half. Doesn't seem like it's that long. No. Well, we're going to come run down, close out the show. Ken, you got any other things that you want to get out into the open? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I would love to have a date with British singer Adele, if you can arrange that, Scott.
Hey, Scott's got the hookup.
Yeah, she's like 26 or 27 years my junior, but hey, Adele's beautiful.
You guys shoot your shot sometimes, Ken. Yeah. Shoot your shot.
Anyway, no.
Great voice.
I'm going to give a prediction as far as the season record.
Sure.
I think this team goes 9-8.
There you go.
Wow.
And they've laid a foundation for the future.
Love it.
They look good, but not quite there. Reminds me a little bit of the Texans last year. They found their franchise quarterback. They were a good team, but not a great team last year. They barely made the playoffs, then they were gone. And now they're starting to get that second-year vibe of, hey, this is going to be a very good team. That's where I think Washington will be this year with their rookie quarterback and the foundation that's being laid for now and be built upon next year. So I'm going with 9-8, narrowly missing the playoffs.
No, I love it. Yeah, that definitely would be a fantastic start. And Scott, we went a whole hour and a half without mentioning Jayden Daniels on this podcast.
I know it's great, and it's great. And to be honest, it's great. We've gone through it ad nauseum. We all know what Jayden's like, so we all know how he's looking. So there's not much point talking about that. So
it's good. We're in a spot, and Ken touched on it earlier. It's been 30 years. 30 plus years, that it's quarterback. It was very nice not having to have a quarterback discussion this week, because we're always talking about quarterback. But I think as a fan base, we're getting comfortable with Jayden and how he's progressing. So we can focus on other things. And there's no outside noise to talk about. There's no Dan Snyder mess. No front office upheaval, no mistakes being made, we're strictly talking about positional football. It's great. This is year 4 in this podcast, and this never happened. We've stuck strictly to the basics of football, and I can't wait till the season start, man. We have the Jets coming up next week. We have a one-day practice against Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a great test for the both offense and defense. I mean, I'm excited because the Jets have a fantastic defense, top to bottom. That defense is awesome. I really am interested, especially I want to see the running backs, man. I want to see how this running back in this offensive line, how they have meshed together, and to get this, I want this running game. It's probably because that we were so null and void in the running back, as far as the running game went last year, because Eric Bieniemy loves throwing the ball 55 times per game. We won't even mention that. But we like a lot of talk coming out of this camp is Brian Robbins, how good he looks. Austin Eckler, Eckler knows his spot. He knows that he's not the number one. He's not the bell cow, and he embraces his role on this team. I think this tandem is going to be fantastic. That's why I drafted both of them in my sleeper league or my dynasty league, because I think we're going to have at least 2 good years of those two in an excellent running game. Behind a rookie quarterback that this year he's going to find his way. So years to come, laying that foundation for a championship organization.
So I've just had a look there when we're talking about quarterbacks, and in 13 years in my fandom, I've seen 14 different quarterbacks, excluding whoever starts this year, which we know it's going to be Jaden. So that takes me to 15 QBs. I mean, that is wild, isn't it?
Only 15? It seems like it's more. It seems like it's
it's as in starting.
Starting quarterbacks. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So we've gone from some seasons we've gone Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins. Then the year before we've had Alex Smith, Johnson. We've had Mark Sanchez. Then we had Keenum for a bit, and crazy, absolutely crazy.
I feel so bad for fans that don't remember the heyday of the Redskins.
I have no idea what that was like.
They don't know how this fan base ends. I mean, Ken will tell you it's a marvelous feeling when you see, when opposing teams' fears coming into your stadium. It's great, and I hope this is a foundation of years to come that will bring us joy, happiness, and no arguments on Twitter.
True.
That will never happen, but the arguments.
Before we go, I want to try to give this name a try, because last March I made a joke that a lot of people got upset about this guy's last name, Noah Igbahani.
Almost. Igbahani.
It's Igbenogany. Which is very difficult to say.
But what people fail to understand, Ken, is your last name, and I knew exactly what you meant when you tweeted that.
I understand.
Yeah, like people screw your name up all the time, so I get it. But and a lot of people just didn't realize that, and you got a bunch of shit for it. Which, if you know Ken, he is not that type of person. He would never do that. Or feel that way, or so. Fuck him.
But I am excited about Noah. I believe he does make the roster.
I think so.
I believe he's going to see some action this year, and I think given that with this new coaching staff, and not like you said the high school coaching staff they had last year, that I think he could be in for a pretty good season.
Yeah. No, I hope so, because like I said, that cornerback room scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
I just hope, Forbes puts it together. St. Juice has a bounce back year, and Mike Davis, being a wily vet that he is, helps out. I ain't got no issues with Sanders still. I think he's going to be one of the top defensive performers on our team. But anyways, thanks everybody in the chat. Yam, Deluxe, Brian, Karen, everybody that joins us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Go to YouTube. Give that a subscribe. You can follow me at Jesse's24 on X. Yes, I got a check mark, but that's because I had to bring this to you on Twitter because Elon Musk is a ass who makes you pay for everything. They will not allow you to stream on Twitter anymore without paying, and that's bullshit. Scott, where can they find you, buddy?
Yeah, they can find me at ScottyH84. I'm also on the 1 Point Safety Show every Thursday. So thank you to everybody in the chat who is in there with us on a Thursday as well. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Ken, Burgundy Burner, go
yes,
ahead and
at
promote
Burgundy
yourself.
Burner on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. That's my handle there, at Burgundy Burner. And you can also find me at Hogs Haven. Have an article coming up very soon. It's the roster prediction. Y'all got a good taste of it today.
Excellent, excellent. Ken, we appreciate you being here. You know you are always welcome on the show. Thanks to our co-host, John Taman, who has, little wifey time because it's, his
anniversary. Give him cutting a bit of slack.
He's been celebrating this anniversary for like a month. He's been to Italy.
Yeah.
So must be nice. But I'm sitting here single as a mingle. And, let's see, any ladies out there, I'm a nice guy. Just saying. Anyways, we'll be back next week. We'll talk about what, we won't talk about the game because the game happened, but we'll talk about what we've seen from the practice against the Jet because I'm sure our media will all be out there. So I'm interested to see that. And then, as Scott said, 1 Point Safety Show every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and like 12 midnight or whatever.
8 p.m. our time.
8 p.m. y'all's time in the UK. Y'all go out there and follow my guy Ken at Burgundy Burner. Go ahead and go on Hogs Haven and check out his articles because he's a good writer. Absolutely. We always enjoy having his stuff here. And I think that is about it. I ain't got nothing else. Y'all got anything else?
No, nothing from me.
No. Let me see if I can find it. I found it. See you next time, everybody.